The morning of my SATs, I was waiting for the bus when I saw a girl have a heart attack. I did the right thing. I saved her. By the time I walked out of the testing center that afternoon, my life was over. The internet had exploded. She'd posted a tearful video from her hospital bed, claiming I'd assaulted her while performing CPR. No girl, she sobbed, would ever use her own dignity to frame someone. That one sentence nailed me to a cross of public shame. I swallowed the bile in my throat and managed a score of 1580, praying that a top score would get me an interview with a major news outlet, a chance to clear my name. Instead, the only news I got was that my parents had been killed, run off the road by the extremist parents of some kid who'd flunked out. When I woke up, I was on the path to the bus stop again. Well, isn't that something? This time, I think I'll take a nice, slow walk. Hey, look at this rock. It's so big and round. And this tree, so lush and green. The flowers smell amazing. I was back. I had been reborn on the way to my SATs. In my past life, the testing center was far, so I'd left 2.5 hours early. While waiting for the bus, the girl next to me suddenly collapsed. My mom was a nurse, and she taught me CPR, so I immediately started chest compressions. I waited for the ambulance to arrive before rushing to the exam. When I came out, the entire internet was calling for my head. The girl's name was Jenna Riley. She was a student too. In the video, she sat on her hospital bed, weeping, accusing me of taking advantage of her while she was unconscious. The bus stop was an old one with no security cameras. It was early, so no one else was around. There were no witnesses to defend me. Jenna's single line, "No girl would ever use her own dignity to frame someone," was my death sentence. The online mob descended like a flood. My mom was a nurse, and my dad owned a small, beloved craft burger joint. After Jenna's video went viral, our restaurant was vandalized and forced to close. At the hospital, my mom was publicly humiliated, cornered by strangers who threw garbage at her. I knew that only an incredible score could get the attention of a reputable media outlet willing to tell my side of the story. So I choked down my fear and rage and finished the exams. My score came out 1580, good enough for any Ivy League school. That same day, Jenna Riley jumped from the roof of the hospital. She was dead. Her parents sued my family for $2 million. They hung banners in our apartment complex demanding my life for hers. My parents couldn't eat or sleep. One day, while making a delivery, they were hounded by a posse of clout-chasing streamers. Their car swerved into the path of a massive truck driven by the enraged parents of a student who had failed his exams. They were both killed instantly. I was ambushed by a mob myself. I managed to escape, but as I reached my apartment door, I slipped on a puddle of oil on the stairs and tumbled backward, cracking my head open. My glasses flew off. In the blurry moments before I died, I saw the daughter of our next-door neighbor, Chloe Vance, holding a bottle of cooking oil. The look in her eyes was a chilling mix of hatred and triumph. But now I was back. The bus stop was 50 yards away, just around the corner at the end of this alley. Through the sparse trees, I could vaguely make out Jenna's silhouette. I didn't even glance in her direction. Instead, I stood on my toes and plucked a rose peeking over a garden wall, carefully tucking it into the buttonhole of my collar. I took out my earbuds, opened a language app on my phone, and began loudly reciting vocabulary words, gesturing with my hands as I walked. I found a small, smooth pebble on the asphalt and started kicking it ahead of me. One kick was too hard. It ricocheted off a telephone pole, shot past me, and clattered into a drainage ditch. Just 10 steps from the end of the alley, I saw Jenna sway and collapse like a drunk. But I turned around, went back for my pebble, and hopped down into the ditch. A low-lying wild bush snagged my glasses, so I took them off, placed them in their case, and put them in my backpack. The ditch was dry, filled only with dead leaves and stones. I decided to set my bag down, roll up my sleeves, and sort through them. I found a dozen, arranging them neatly on the curb from largest to smallest. They were so perfectly round, so beautiful. The sun made them sparkle like jewels. I took a picture for my Instagram story. In my past life, I was already at the bus stop at this exact moment, watching Jenna have her heart attack. I assumed it was happening right now. I just kept snapping photos, posting, and sharing. So many stones. I couldn't take them all. I finally chose a heart-shaped one, wiped it clean with a tissue over and over, then held it up to the sun. Heart. I recited loudly. H-E-A-R-T. Heart. H-E-A-R-T. Heart. The word turned into a song, and the song brought tears to my eyes. My vision is 20 of 200. From 50 feet away, I can barely tell a man from a woman. Trees are just blurs of green. Now that I was closer, I could smell the flowers and realize the trees at the corner were gardenias. Through an iron fence, I saw a small garden filled with their white blossoms, the air thick with their scent. An old man was watering the plants while a cat and dog chased each other. Under the eaves of the house, a round security camera was pointed right at me. I took off my headphones. "Sir," I called out, "your gardenias smell amazing." The man, pleased, clipped a flower and handed it to me through the bars. "You a student? Taking the big test today?" I nodded. "Yes, sir. On my way to the testing center now." He smiled warmly. "Well, good luck to you. Hope you ace it." "Thank you, sir. I appreciate that," I said. He saw the rose on my collar and, deciding I was a flower enthusiast, cut several more, bigger and more beautiful than the first, along with a few gardenias the size of my fist. Another 10 minutes gone. Finally, a few retired ladies carrying grocery totes walked by, heading toward the bus stop. I followed behind them, holding my bouquet. One woman, in a floral blouse and a loud perm, smelled the flowers and turned to me. "Young man, where did you get those gorgeous flowers?" I squinted, remembering my glasses were off. I put them on. "The gentleman back there gave them to me." "You like them, ma'am? Here, have some." I gave her 5. I gave the other ladies a couple each as we continued toward the bus stop. I didn't see Jenna. A part of the greenbelt next to the bus stop was trampled, but it was mostly hidden by the route sign. No one noticed anything was wrong. I walked slowly at the back of the group, smelling my flowers. Just as we reached the curb, my bus pulled up. "Hey!" I yelled, running for it. The driver swung the doors open with a flourish, but didn't quite stop. I took a running leap onto the steps, went to the very back, and sat in the left window seat, putting my headphones back on. The door stayed open, but no one else got on. The ladies at the stop were chattering about the SATs. The doors hissed shut, and the bus pulled away. Only after we were a block down the road did a white-haired grandmother spot a phone on the ground near the bushes. Then she saw the body. "Aya!" she screamed, stumbling backward. The other women rushed to help her up. Jenna lay in the crushed greenery, her face bruised and her clothes covered in dirt. I never once looked back. Sure, after I was reborn, I could have asked my dad for a ride. I could have taken a different route called an Uber. Hell, in a city like Riverbend, all I had to do was say I was a student on my way to the SATs, and anyone would have driven me. But why should I run? Why should I change my path? Did she own that street? No. I wanted to be just within her reach, a ghost she could almost touch, and watch her slide inch by inch into hell, while I remained completely unsullied. I wanted her to lie there in despair, staring at the corner where I should have appeared, her hope turning to dust. If she died, great. If she lived, she would spend the rest of her life thinking, if only I'd taken a different street, or waited just one more minute, he would have come. Remorse is for the wicked, not the good. This wasn't just about killing. It was about destroying a soul. The rest of the trip was smooth. I arrived with 20 minutes to spare. This was my second time taking the SATs, and compared to the panicked, almost late rush of my past life, I was calm and composed. I finished the morning session, went home, ate lunch, and glanced at my phone before a nap. No news about Jenna. I woke up to find both my parents home. Mom tossed me a damp washcloth for my face. "A student had a heart attack at a bus stop this morning," she said. "They brought her to our hospital. She's in the ICU. I don't know if she'll make it." "I heard about that," my dad said. "Such a shame, so young. But Ethan still has exams. Don't talk about this stuff. You'll stress him out." My kind, compassionate parents, pitying the very girl who had destroyed our entire family. She claimed my help was unprofessional, that I'd assaulted her. I'm sure she much preferred this outcome. That afternoon, I decided I didn't want to take the bus again. I asked Dad to give me a ride on his e-bike. Having lost him once, I cherished every second I had with him now. Dad removed the delivery basket from the back, wiped the seat clean over and over, and complained sweetly, "You're taller than your old man now. Barely any room for your legs." I was 18 and 6'3". My dad was 5'7". I've been taller than him since middle school. Was he just noticing? I squeezed onto the bike, put on my helmet, and rested my hands on his shoulders. "Dad, after the tests are done, can we go back to your hometown and see Grandpa and Grandma?" Dad gently twisted the throttle. "I don't know, son. You're about to go to college. I need to save up for your tuition, maybe a down payment on a place for you someday." I pressed my forehead against his broad back, my eyes getting misty. "We can always make more money, Dad. But there's only one summer after senior year. Besides, it's been 3 years since we all went back together. I miss them. To prep for the SATs, I'd stayed in Riverbend over Christmas for tutoring. My parents had to take turns staying with me, so they always visited home separately." My dad hesitated. I shook his shoulders. "Dad," an 18-year-old bear of a boy acting like a little kid. He couldn't take it. All right, sit still before you knock us over." I sat up straight. Dad's grin stretched from ear to ear. "Okay, I just got a shipment in today. I'll sell it off tomorrow, and we'll head out the day after. We can check your scores from their house. That'll make your grandparents happy. At the testing center, I looked back and saw my dad watching me from his e-bike, his face full of love. My eyes stung again. I gave him a thumbs up. Go get you. Ita. The exam was a breeze. I was already a top student, considered a shoe-in for the Ivy League by my teachers. If it weren't for Jenna, my future would have been bright. When I walked out, Dad was there to pick me up. Ethan, are you hot? Tired? Hungry? He asked in a rapid-fire burst, pouring me water from a thermos. I drank the water and stretched. Dad, right now, all I want to do is sleep. After what happened with Jenna in my last life, I hadn't had a good night's sleep in ages. Now, after a full day of testing, my eyelids felt like lead weights. Right, Dad said quickly. Get your rest. Big day of testing again tomorrow. He took me home. Mom was still on the night shift. Dad started making dinner while I showered. I dried my hair and went straight to my room. A quick check of my phone showed the internet was quiet. It seemed that without my help, Jenna's condition was severe enough that she couldn't cause any trouble. But I knew her family. I knew how relentless they were. The real storm was still coming. I had actually been middle school classmates with her. But I tested into the advanced program shortly after the first year started, and I had no memory of her at all. She revealed it herself in her video, claiming I'd been obsessed with her even back then. She was like a sewer rat. Her hair was always greasy, like she hadn't washed it in months, and she had a strange, sour smell. A photo of the two of us side by side would have made any accusation of me assaulting her completely unbelievable. If she hadn't died, I would have had every chance to turn the tide. But there are no if-onlys. In my past life, during the online mobbing, someone anonymously sent me a photo. It was a filthy, cluttered room, the walls covered with pictures of me. On a dusty shelf were all sorts of small things I'd lost over the years. A towel from basketball practice, a water bottle, old pens, even a pair of worn-out sneakers and old boxers. The text with the image just said, Jenna's room. So Jenna had been stalking me, stealing my things, digging through my trash. She was a sick, obsessed fanatic, and a desperate one. Her showing up at that specific bus stop on that day was no accident. It was a carefully laid trap. Jenna's parents favored their son and planned to marry her off for cash as soon as she graduated high school. In my past life, just before she died, she called me. She said if I agreed to marry her and give her parents $1 million dowry, she'd clear my name online. The idea was so repulsive, I literally threw up. Soon after, she jumped. I had recorded the call, but it was useless. A single, powerful sentiment, don't speak ill of the dead, made it impossible for me to fight back. But I never understood how she knew I'd be at that bus stop. Then I remember my death. The blurry image of my neighbor, Chloe. Chloe and I were in the same grade, but different classes. Our families had been neighbors for over a decade, but never interacted. Her parents were teachers at a private school and were brutally strict with her. Her entire day, waking up, eating, homework, sleeping, was scheduled down to the minute. If she missed a deadline or failed a task, she was punished. Our rooms were adjacent. Countless times, I'd heard her parents screaming at her, calling her a pig brain, saying she was dumber than the son of the guy who used to sell street food. Before opening his restaurant, my dad had run a popular food stall outside our complex. After he made some money, he bought a storefront and upgraded to a proper restaurant. He may have been a small business owner, not a respectable teacher, but he earned his money with his own two hands. Who would have looked down on him? I was already a good student, but their contempt made me work even harder to make my parents proud. I was always at the top of my class, the kid all the other parents in the complex compared their own kids to. The Vances started using me as a cudgel to beat their daughter with. My parents, in contrast, were enlightened and loving, always gentle and supportive. It was highly likely Chloe was jealous. The next day, I aced the final part of the SATs. My score would be even better than last time. Ivy League was a lock. After the exam, I told my dad I was meeting up with friends. Instead, I went to a big box electronics store and bought 3 spy cameras. I had nothing to hide and was a big kid. The two of them together couldn't take me in a fight, but I had to be ready for their dirty tricks. One camera went inside our old security door, hidden behind a festive welcome sign we put up for Christmas. One went inside the living room. The third went on the top of my bedroom window frame, angled slightly, so it could see about 2/3 of Chloe's room. If her door was open, I could even see in her family's living room. I had just installed it and connected it to the app on my phone when I almost dropped it in horror. On the wall directly across from Chloe's bed was a poster-sized photo of me. A giant X was drawn over it in what looked like blood-red paint, and the face was shredded, riddled with dart holes. I finally knew for sure. In my past life, she was one of the main people responsible for my death. The person who sent me that anonymous photo of Jenna's stalker shrine must have been her too. I had tried to look up the account back then, but it had been deleted. But this time, the photo hadn't been sent yet. I created a new burner account and searched for her profile. I found it. It was probably a Finsta, a fake Instagram. Not many posts, but what was there was horrifying. It was all videos of her torturing cats and dogs. From the locations, I could tell it was our complex and the nearby park. The realization that I had lived next to this monster for over a decade sent a cold sweat down my spine. I quickly screenshotted and screen recorded everything, then used my own burner account to save and repost it privately. In her following list, I found a familiar profile picture. I logged back into my main account and saw the same user in my followers list. The account had never posted anything, but I remembered it. Whenever I posted a story, this account would view it dozens of times. I suspected it was Jenna. Right then, I took a picture of the heart-shaped stone next to a jasmine flower from our balcony and posted it to my story. Then I reposted a cheesy article about high school sweethearts. The day after the SATs, my mom took 2 weeks of vacation, my dad closed a restaurant, and the three of us drove to his hometown. I spent my days running wild in the countryside, but I never stopped monitoring the situation with Jenna. Sure enough, on the 6th day of her ICU stay, she woke up. Just like last time, she went online and accused everyone who was at the bus stop that day. The 7 old ladies, the bus driver, and me, of leaving her for dead. Me? Huh. The bus driver. Huh. The 7 ladies. Ha ha ha. The internet. Huh. But she was undeniably tragic. So much time had been lost. 20 minutes passed between her collapse and when she was found. The woman who found her didn't know CPR, and it took another 20 minutes for the ambulance to arrive. 40 minutes total. The damage to her body was irreversible. First, malignant arrhythmia and chronic cardiac ischemia. The slightest stress could trigger cardiogenic shock or cardiac arrest at any moment. Second, brain damage. Her heart had stopped for an estimated 4 to 6 minutes while she was unconscious, causing irreversible damage to her brain cells. Third, the prolonged lack of oxygen led to severe kidney failure. She would need dialysis for the rest of her life. She was only 18. This happened on the most important day of her young life. A complete catastrophe. And because her story was so tragic, were we, the bystanders, supposed to pay the price? Just like last time, everyone who was at the bus stop was doxxed and investigated by internet sleuths. Even though I was the last to arrive, I was the first one they targeted, simply because I was also a student taking the SATs. Someone posted a picture of me leaving my building at 6:30 a.m. He could have walked to the bus stop in 5 minutes, the argument went, but he took until 7:15 to show up. Putting everything else aside, doesn't his slowness make him partially responsible? Putting everything else aside, if I put anything else aside, I'd have been at the testing center already. The Instagram story of the stones was time-stamped at 6:50 a.m. My dad recognized the old man who gave me the gardenias, Mr. Henderson, as a regular at the restaurant. He contacted him and got the security footage from his yard. The timestamp was clear as day. It even had audio of our conversation. At 7:00 a.m., I was still in his garden with him. Although we were close to the bus stop, it was around a corner. You couldn't see it from his house. Mr. Henderson even got footage from his neighbors, proving I was on that side street the whole time, right until the group of ladies appeared and I ran for the bus. The security camera on the bus also proved I got on before the bus reached the stop. I had never even set foot on the platform. I never saw Jenna. If I was still to blame, then you might as well blame the gentle morning breeze and the fragrant air. My evidence was solid. Even when people tried to stir up trouble, it backfired. I ended up getting a lot of sympathy. After all, I was just a high school kid, walking my own path, not bothering anyone, yet I was forced to flee to the countryside while my family's business was shut down. The old ladies were even tougher. They had called 911 the second they found her. One of them had even recorded a video, proving that from a moment Jenna was discovered until the ambulance took her away, nobody had touched her, completely eliminating any possibility of a shakedown. When Jenna's family started making noise, the ladies' families hired a lawyer and threatened to sue for defamation and harassment. Turns out, you don't mess with a pack of furious grandmas, especially the one with the perm. She was a legend in Riverbend. Unlike me, who had been so naive, in this life, I would rather be a selfish bastard than ever help a stranger who falls on the street. No matter how the story blew up online, my family and I said nothing. On the day Jenna woke up, I noticed her account had viewed my social media profile over 100 times. So, every day, I posted a picture of a jasmine flower. No caption, just decorated with pink, love you, and miss you stickers. She went insane. She checked my profile every 15 minutes. She was still refreshing it at 3 in the morning. I honestly hoped she'd die from sleep deprivation. But evil things live forever. Not only did she not die, she started live streaming from the hospital to gain sympathy. She talked about how poor her family was, how they were drowning in ICU debt. As a high school student, her story was already trending. With the beauty filter cranked to the max, she looked pitiful enough that people actually started donating. Finally, SAT scores were released. My whole family huddled around the computer. In my past life, I'd scored a 1580 under all that pressure. This time, I had no idea what I'd gotten. When we tried to check, the score wouldn't load. My grandpa squinted at the screen, thinking the rural internet was bad. What's wrong? Why is there nothing? My dad refreshed the page a few times. Still nothing. He started sweating. I put a hand on my grandpa's back, worried the excitement would be too much for him. I whispered, "Grandpa, I think the portal crashed." Then it hit my parents. They looked at each other and screamed. They started jumping up and down, which attracted all our neighbors and relatives. Seeing how excited they were, and knowing I'd just taken the SATs, they guessed. Did Ethan get into the Ivy League? Everyone in the village had the same last name. Me getting into a top school was a source of pride for the whole clan. Grandpa's hands were shaking. I was trying to calm him down, yelling for my dad. "Dad, look at Grandpa." My grandpa waved me off, then pulled me into a hug, tears streaming down his face. "My dear grandson, I'm just so happy." He turned to my dad. "What are you standing there for? Go to town, order meat, order food. Call the relatives. We're throwing a huge party." He started flipping through an old calendar, looking for an auspicious date. My uncle, a contractor, heard my score was so high the system couldn't handle it. "What's to order?" he boomed. "I've got a big old hog I was saving for a gift. We'll slaughter it. I've got the liquor, too. It's all on me. I've even got some top-shelf whiskey." The whole village sprang into action. Just then, my dad's phone rang. I saw the area code and knew it had to be an admissions office. "It's from the East Coast." I hissed. My dad's hands were trembling so badly, he fumbled the phone twice. My grandpa snatched it from him in frustration. "Useless," he muttered, then answered, his voice cracking with emotion. "Hello. Yes, this is his grandfather." "No, I mean this is Ethan Miller's grandfather." Yes. "Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you." My dad pressed his ear to the other side of the phone. The two of them practically smothered the speaker. My mom and grandma were hugging each other, laughing and crying. When they hung up, my grandpa and my dad were both weeping. They grabbed me from either side. "Ethan, it was Princeton. You got into Princeton." That's when I found out. I had scored a perfect 1600. I was the top scorer in the state. The local TV station was already calling. Then the news van from the city station found its way to our village. I gave an interview. Parents of high schoolers across the state praised me. I went viral. The old story of Jenna's false accusation became a hot topic again, trending nationwide. This time, I was the object of overwhelming sympathy. Consequently, Jenna was torn to shreds online. Her real, unfiltered photos and her terrible grades were leaked. Her livestream chat was a waterfall of insults, calling her an ugly, evil drama queen. Back in Riverbend, the principals of my middle and high schools were blowing up my dad's phone. My dad couldn't sit still anymore. He had to get back to Riverbend. He had a business to run. He had money to make. The big party would have to wait. My grandparents didn't object. They were terrified someone would steal my acceptance letter if we weren't home. In their day, it wasn't unheard of for someone's college spot to be stolen. I sighed. I had been hoping to stay in the countryside until the whole Jenna mess was over. But the family bundled me into the car. When we got back to Riverbend, we were met with a hero's welcome at the entrance to our complex. "The state scholar is back." We were surrounded. We had to get out of the car. My dad, being a small business owner, knew everyone in the complex, and they all knew him. "Mr. Miller, how did you raise him? How does a kid get a perfect 1600? We didn't do much. He was always in the top 3 of his class. What does he eat? What books does he read?" "He eats my burgers," my dad declared proudly. "The burger spin uses a beef bone broth base for our special sauce. Look at how tall this kid is. He grew up on that stuff." He pushed me forward. All 6'3" of me just stood there. "He's so handsome. I always said he had the makings of a scholar," one of the ladies said, patting my arm. The other women crowded around, trying to touch me to soak up the good luck for their own kids. We finally broke free and were about to head home when my dad tossed me a set of keys. "You and your mom go open up the restaurant and clean up. I'm going to get supplies. I'm going to make your tuition money in the next few days." He seriously underestimated the earning power of a state scholar. Before he even got back from a supplier, my mom and I were still mopping floors and wiping tables when the neighborhood descended upon us. Our restaurant was packed to the point of collapse. Neighbors jumped in to help, and one even suggested my mom rename the burger spin to the Scholar's Burger. As he said it, a group of my classmates walked in. I wanted to disappear. Ethan, congratulations. Our class had done well this year. Almost everyone got into a good college. After a decade of hard work, we were finally on top of the world. Everyone was praising me, being so kind. But these were the same people who, in my past life, had thrown rotten vegetables and eggs at me. People. With the help of our neighbors, the restaurant was a massive success. We were slammed until after midnight, when we finally sold out of every last ingredient. Our success brought business to the whole street. The flower shop on the corner sent over a massive bouquet of sunflowers, roses, carnations, and lilies. It was so big I could barely carry it. I picked out the red carnations for my mom, then a bundle of red roses for my dad to give to her. The sunflowers and lilies went into a vase in the restaurant. The three of us walked home together. My parents were in front, holding hands like newlyweds. I walked behind them, holding the flowers. I took a selfie with the red roses in the foreground. Our front door was in the background, which also captured Chloe's door next to ours. I had just posted it and was about to unlock our door when the one next to us creaked open. Chloe's parents stood there, their faces plastered with sickeningly sweet smiles. "Oh, Mr. Miller, working late, are we?" My dad, a natural people pleaser, couldn't be rude even to them. "Yeah, business was good today. The whole neighborhood came out to support us." He made a few minutes of empty small talk before we could finally escape into our own apartment. I took a quick shower and rushed back to my room, eager to check my phone. As I expected, Jenna was already viewing my profile. My account was public, and tons of classmates knew it. People were liking the photo, asking if I had a girlfriend. I ignored them all and opened the security camera app. What I saw made me scream. She was at her window, staring right at me. The camera was pointed directly into her dark, hollow eyes. My mom burst into the room. "Ethan, what's wrong?" On the screen, I saw Chloe press her ear against the wall, listening. I shoved the phone under my pillow and pulled a power adapter out from under me. The charger. It was digging into my leg. My mom tooted. "Such a big kid and still so careless. Let me see if it left a mark on your butt." She reached for my pants to check. No, I'm fine." I protested. "It just hurt for a second." My mom gave me a look. "Still shy with your own mother?" But she didn't insist and left, closing the door behind her. Since my rebirth, I kept my windows shut tight. I want to draw the curtains too, but I thought that would be too obvious and my parents might open them for me. Now, I scrambled off the bed and yanked the curtains shut, making sure they were completely closed. Then I put on my headphones and looked back at the monitor. Chloe was still pressed against the wall, her eyes fixed on my window. I couldn't see her face because of the angle. But when she realized she couldn't hear anything from my room, she went berserk. She grabbed a dart from her desk, lunged at the poster of me, and started stabbing it over and over. I had no doubt that if I were standing in front of her, she would stab me 100 times. I quickly dug out the grip strengthener I'd hidden in my closet and started squeezing it while I reviewed the past few days of footage. The day after the SATs, Chloe's parents had made her retake the entire exam, question by question, until 2 in the morning. The next day, they beat her savagely. Chloe had choked. She usually scored around a 1450, but her practice test estimated a 1400. She hadn't dared to guess on the retake, because if her answers didn't match her real exam, the beating would be worse. When her real score came out, it was only a 1290. They beat her until she was limp on the floor. It took her forever to crawl back to her feet. They didn't give her any food and took away all the snacks in her room. That night, she stood like a ghost at her window, staring at mine. For the entire night. She did it every night after that. Jesus Christ. No horror movie could be as terrifying as a girl staring at you through a wall and a window with dead, black eyes all night long. But compared to my entire family being murdered, what was this? I forced down my revulsion, pulled the curtain halfway open, and leaned against the wall myself. I took a selfie from outside my own window. The shot captured my profile, and in the background, the ghostly figure of Chloe. With a filter, some stickers, and a beauty effect, the horrifying image instantly transformed into a moody, atmospheric portrait of heartbreak. This time, I added a caption, "Don't be scared. I'm here," and I posted it. Of course, Jenna was online in a second. I immediately deleted the post. I had set the photo to view once, so it couldn't be screenshotted or recorded. It left no trace on the platform, but it would leave a deep, festering scar in a psycho's mind. After deleting it, I shared a song, Little Star, by a popular indie singer. Chloe's walls were covered with posters of this artist. I'd heard her playing this exact song before. Jenna viewed the new post from midnight until 4 in the morning, listening to the song on a loop. For the next week, I did the same thing every day. Finally, the day before Jenna was discharged from the hospital, someone in my old middle school group chat organized a visit to see her. A classmate even invited me to go with them. I immediately left the group and blocked the few remaining middle school friends I had. The first thing Jenna did when she woke up was accuse me of leaving her for dead. The news was huge. I don't believe for a second they didn't know. Don't play the saint with me. I wanted her to know exactly how much I despised her. And the more I despised her, the sweeter things got with Chloe. Every night, we would watch each other through the wall, listening to the same song, looking at the same stars. The day Jenna was discharged, my family packed our bags and went back to my dad's hometown. We took all my high school books and notes. My mom told me Chloe's parents had actually asked her for them. They said Chloe didn't do well and wants to take a gap year and retake the SATs. They asked to borrow your study materials. I told them you'd already given them all away. Those two used to look down their noses at your mother and me, my dad scoffed. You made us proud this time, but we're not doormats. Why on earth would we lend them anything? After the news broke that I was the state scholar, everyone in the complex had come to our apartment, taking my old notes, pens, books, even the mat I used on my desk. They brought tea, liquor, wine, all kinds of gifts. We didn't accept them, but we appreciated the gesture. Who did the Van Cess think they were, showing up with their hands out? My dad was on cloud nine. He had hidden all my most important review materials and brought them with us to the countryside for my younger cousins to use, hoping to cultivate a few more scholars in the family. As expected, my grandparents, aunts, and uncles treated us like royalty, calling me a genius sent from the heavens. The day of my big party in the country was the same day as my high school class party back in the city. I spent the whole day greeting relatives, only getting a few moments to check my phone. I saw from some classmates' Instagram stories that they were, in fact, having a party that night. Chloe and Jenna were both there. That afternoon, my grandfather took me to the family cemetery to burn incense and tell our ancestors that we had a state scholar in the family. Amidst the curling smoke, I knelt and made a wish. I hoped Jenna's psychotic break would happen tonight, and that she would take Chloe with her. I never expected our ancestors to be so damn effective. Late that night, I was almost asleep when my phone rang, jolting me awake. It was a classmate. Ethan, Jenna's dead. Check the group chat now. I opened my high school group chat. It was flooded with real-time pictures and videos. I quickly pieced together what had happened. On a street not far from my house, after the party, some students were chatting, others waiting for rides. Chloe and Jenna were walking together. No one knew what they said, but they suddenly started screaming at each other. People only caught a few phrases. Apparently, Jenna had been on the phone with Chloe right when she collapsed on the day of the SATs. Something Chloe said had triggered the heart attack. The two of them started fighting like they were mortal enemies. Just then, a huge gravel truck came barreling down the street. Jenna suddenly shoved Chloe into its path. But Chloe was a fighter. She grabbed Jenna's arm and held on for dear life. Both of them were pulled under the wheels. Jenna's neck was snapped instantly. She died on the spot. Chloe's legs were crushed, and she was dragged for several yards. Most of the skin was torn from her body. The street was a mess of flesh and blood. It was a scene horrifically similar to what had happened to my parents. The students at the scene were either screaming, crying, or throwing up. A passerby called 911. The police arrived and sent everyone home with their parents. I lay in my bed and laughed until I cried. Chloe was in emergency surgery for 2 days before she woke up. I heard they had to amputate everything below her hips. Most of the skin on her body had been ground away. They were forced to use fish skin grafts. The truck was found, but it was a beat-up junker on its last legs, and the driver had been operating it legally. They wouldn't get much of a settlement. We finished our celebration and stayed in the country for 2 more days before heading back to Riverbend. As we approached our complex, we saw a group of people pulling a flatbed cart, marching angrily toward the entrance. I recognized the man in front as Jenna's father. Go to the restaurant, I urged my dad. We parked the car, unloaded our things at the restaurant, and then walked back to the complex to watch the show. We soon realized that the object on the cart, covered with melting bags of ice, was Jenna's body. In the summer heat, it was already starting to smell. People kept their distance, watching from afar and whispering. They said Jenna's family was being unreasonable. Everyone knew Jenna had pushed Chloe first. Chloe's parents locked their doors and didn't come out. That night, they moved out in secret. Jenna's family didn't stop. After creating a scene at our complex, they went to the private school where the Van Cess worked, holding banners, staging loud, wailing protests. They refused to bury Jenna, instead using her body and their grief to campaign online, crying for justice. Even the police couldn't do anything about them. The Van Cess were doxxed. Their history as teachers was dug up, ignoring student bullying, accepting bribes from parents, and their high-pressure methods that led to student depression. Their reputations were destroyed. I waded into the chaos and anonymously leaked the link to Chloe's animal abuse Finsta. It caused a national firestorm. Her social media pages were flooded with death threats. Extreme animal rights activists sent funeral wreaths to her hospital room and posted Photoshopped pictures of her corpse online. They called her entire family demons who deserved to die. Everything that had happened to my family in my past life was now happening to them. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't over. Every day, I stayed sharp, never letting my guard down. I kept my grip strengthener with me at all times, ready to use as a weapon if necessary. Judging by their parenting style, Chloe's parents weren't normal either. Now their daughter was crippled, their money was gone, their careers were over, and their names were mud. They were at the end of their rope. One was a biology teacher, the other chemistry. Who knew what they were capable of? They could snap and turn into something out of a true crime documentary. I lived on high alert, sticking to my parents like glue, never letting them be alone. At first, they thought I was being silly, but after I explained my reasoning, they became cautious too. A week later, the official news report came out. The trucking company, as a gesture of goodwill, had given Jenna's family a $500,000 settlement. And Jenna's body, frankly, couldn't be kept any longer. The Rileys finally took it back to their hometown for a funeral. Having gotten a taste of internet fame from exposing the Van Cess, Jenna's parents went all out. They not only invited the entire village to the funeral feast, but also a swarm of clout-chasing streamers and online personalities. They announced they would use the event to continue their crusade against the three Van Cess until they confessed their crimes. With hundreds of people live streaming, it was a grotesque, circus-like spectacle, more like a press conference than a funeral. The moment the food was served, they all dropped dead. Poison. It was all on live stream. I heard the number of online viewers was over 1 million. Can you imagine their trauma? The killers were Chloe's parents. It turned out that the day before, Chloe, unable to bear the reality of her new life, had slit her wrists while her parents were sleeping. After poisoning the funeral, they didn't try to escape. They simply set the building on fire and went down with everyone else. Seeing that final report, I finally let go of the breath I had been holding. I was free. With my parents' loving support and my family's proud blessings, I turned and walked toward my bright, new future.